Good afternoon, friends. We are learning our subject data mining. The code is 3160714. And in that, we are learning our module 4, that is classification and prediction. In previous lecture, we have seen the neural network and the numerical examples also. Fine. So now, what next we want to study? We want to study the new things. What are the new things for us? Prediction, right? Prediction, you can say you already know. You know? Yes, recall. We have used the linear regression, right? So, we want to study prediction, okay? So what is that? Predicting the number of, sorry, predicting the identity of one thing based purely on the description of other related thing, not necessarily future events, just unknowns. Typically, when we are saying the prediction, we think of the future prediction, like astrologer used to do, right? But what do we say is prediction is not necessarily the future events, but just the unknowns based on the relationship between a thing that you can know and the thing you need to predict. Right? So how does it differ from the classification? This is the question most of the times people are asking in the Viva. So let's see that a classification problem could be seen as a predictor of classes, but predicted values are usually continuous, whereas classifications are discrete, right? You can see the difference. The first thing is a classification problem could be seen as a predictor of classes. And what we say is predicted values are usually continuous, whereas the classifications are discrete, right? I've said you twice, but see the thing and keep the thing in your mind, right? Predictions are often, not always, about the future, whereas classifications are about the present. You can say, just now you have said that it is not always the future. That's what I am saying, that it is often, but not always, about the future, right? Classification is more concerned with the input than the output. As for example, predicting levels of sales that will result from a price change or advert, predicting whether or not it will rain based on current humidity, predicting how much revenue a book of debt will bring, right? Now, criteria for comparing the methods of classification and prediction. So for that, we can say we are having, say, accuracy, speed, robustness, scalability, interpretability. These are few measures by which we can say that we are comparing the classification and prediction methods. Fine. So what is accuracy? That is known to us, isn't it? Accuracy of a classifier refers to the ability of classifier. It predicts the class label correctly, and the accuracy of the predictor refers to how well a given predictor can guess the value of predicted attribute for a new data. Speed. This refers to the computational cost in generating and using the classifier or predictor. Robustness. It refers to the ability of classifier or predictor to make correct predictions from the given noisy data. Scalability. Scalability refers to the ability to construct the classifier or predictor efficiently given large amount of data. Interpretability. It refers to what extent the classifier or predictor understands. Now we want to know about the regression. Regression is known to us, right? Okay, what do we say about the regression analysis? Is a statistical process for estimating the relationships among variables. It includes many techniques for modeling and analyzing several variables. When the focus is on the relationship between a dependent variable and one or more independent variables, or it is said as predictors. Regression is a statistical measure used in finance, investing, and other disciplines that attempts to determine the strength of the relationship between one dependent variable and a series of other changing variables, or we can say independent variables, right? This is known to us, isn't it? Regression is a data mining function that predicts a number. Like you can say age, weight, distance, temperature, income, or sales would all be predicted using regression techniques. For example, a regression model could be used to predict children's height, their age, means height we can predict based on their age, weight, and other factors, right? So types of regression: linear regression, logistic regression, polynomial regression, stepwise regression, ridge regression, lasso regression, elastic net regression. Are we going to study all this? No, we are going to study linear and non-linear regression. Okay. So what do we say? Linear regression, multiple regression, and log linear model or non-linear regression, right? So major category are linear regression and non-linear regression. Fine. Okay, what do we say? Linear regression, that means data model to fit a straight line. Often uses the least square method to fit the line. Remember, in the pre-processing, we have seen this method of linear regression. Why have we studied that? Because we wanted to smooth the data, right? So there we have learned this technique and we have seen the examples also, fine. For multiple regression also we have seen the examples, fine. So what is multiple regression? It allows a response variable y to be modeled as a linear function of multi-dimensional feature vector, right? So log linear model, what it is, or you can say what is non-linear regression. See, does it mean that non-linear regression is log linear model only? No. Log linear model is one example of non-linear regression. Okay. So approximations, discrete multidimensional probability distributions it is having. So let's see. Regression analysis. You recall this figure, right? See, x-axis is there, y-axis is there. These are the data which are given to us. What we do is we are trying to find a best fit line. For all these points, we are trying to find the best fit line, right? And most commonly, the best fit is evaluated by using the least square method. But other criteria have also been used, right? It is used for prediction, including forecasting of data, time series data, inference, hypothesis testing, and modeling of causal relationships. Now, what is linear regression? Y is equal to WX plus B, right? two regression coefficients W and B, specify the line and arc to be estimated by using the data at hand, right? Using the least squares criterion to the known values, that is y1, y2, x1, x2, isn't it? Multiple regression, that is y is equal to b0 plus b1 x1 plus b2 x2, right? Something like this. Many nonlinear functions can be transformed to the multiple regression. Okay. Now we are talking about log linear and nonlinear models. Approximate discrete multidimensional probability distributions. Estimate the probability of each point in a multidimensional space for a set of discretized attributes based on a smaller subset of dimensional combinations. It is useful for dimensionality reduction and data smoothing. So what's the difference between linear and nonlinear regression? See, the name itself suggests what is the difference between linear and nonlinear. Where the parameters are linear, you can say that it is linear regression. Where we say that the parameters are nonlinear, it is nonlinear regression, right? Okay, so what do we say is nonlinear regression is a mathematical model that fits an equation to certain data using a generated line. As is the case with the linear regression that uses a straight line equation. Nonlinear regression shows association using a curve, making it nonlinear in the parameter, right? So what do we say is not linear in parameters is nonlinear regression. Fine. So something like this we can see, curve we say, right? Till now for linear regression, we used to say that we are having the best fit, what line? Straight line, right? Here we are considering the curve, right? So this is an example of it. So many other examples, like examples of nonlinear regression functions include exponential functions, logarithmic functions, trigonometric functions, power functions, Gaussian functions, Lorentz curves, some functions such as the exponential or logarithmic can be transformed so that they are linear. The curve is there. Curve is transformed in such a way that it will become the straight line, right? So that's what we are trying to say is the curve, or you can say the nonlinear functions will be transformed to the linear function, and so that we will be able to transform nonlinear regression to the linear regression, right? So when transformed, standard linear regression can be performed but must be applied with the caution, right? So how to select the right regression model? Data exploration is an inevitable part of building predictive model. It could be used. And what is the first step before selecting the right model? Like identify the relationship and impact of variables, right? To compare the goodness of fit for different models, we can analyze different metrics like statistical significance of measures, R square, adjusted R square, AIC, VIC, and error term, right? Another one is the Malus CP criterion. This essentially checks for possible bias in your model by comparing the model with all possible submodels. Okay. Cross-validation is the best way to evaluate the models for prediction. Here, you divide your data set into two groups. train and validate. We used to talk that we are having the train data and test data, right? In case of neural network also, we have talked of that. The data set, the original data set is divided in two parts. It is the train data and the test data. And typically we are using 70% of the data for training and 30% of the data to testing, right? A simple means for difference between the observed and predicted values give you a measure of the prediction accuracy. How we can see the accuracy? That is observed and predicted. In neural network, we used to say it as the desired value and the actual output, right? So here we say the same thing. The words we say are the observed and the predicted values, right? That gives the prediction accuracy, right? So whatever models you consider, for all of them, you apply on your data, you get the accuracy, and then you compare that for this data, this model gives a better accuracy. Fine. Okay. So regression regularization methods works well in case of high dimensionality and multi-collinearity among the variables in the data set, right? If your data set has multiple confounding variables, you should not choose automatic model selection because you do not want to put this model at the same time. So what are the disadvantages? How predictions are gained can be hard to understand by human user. Not easy to ask why an answer was given. No rules to look at. Can make big errors if not trained properly. It requires certain degree of faith, right? So what are the formulas? Let me tell you quickly about this. Classifier accuracy. See, we have talked of this thing that the classifier accuracy should be there. It is predicted and the observed values difference is there, right? But when we are giving the table, when we are given the table of say what is true positive, what is false positive, what is false negative, what is true negative, based on that we can find the accuracy, we can find the error rate, sensitivity, specificity, and many more, right? So what is that? These are the classifier evaluation matrix. Classifier evaluation matrix. Okay, so what are they? See, this is one table given to you where it says that this is the class and this is the negative class. Fine. Now, true positive. True positive, that means what? Truly positive. That means the classification gives the answer. It is positive and it is really positive. Let me say that these days we are talking of the corona, right? Let me tell you this. Am I audible? Am I audible? Okay, fine. Some problem occurred, okay? Yeah. We are talking of the corona disease, right? Corona positive. Okay. Now, what is the case? That true positive, that means person is detected positive, corona positive, right? Person is detected corona positive and he is really positive. Corona positive, okay? Fine. Now, what we say is true negative. That means what? Person is detected negative and he is really negative, right? Now, false positive. That means person is detected positive, but actually that is really he is negative. So falsely a person is detected as positive. Fine. That way, false negative. That means what? Person is detected as negative, but really he is positive. Got the points? Because if you understand these terms, then only we can proceed further. Without that, we cannot understand this accuracy, specificity, right? So let me show you all the terms. So this is the table given to us, right? Now, what we do is TP, true positive, FN, false negative, FP, false positive, TN, true negative, right? These things are given to all. So this gives what? That is a positive number. This gives what? The negative number, right? Okay. So now we want to find the classifier accuracy or recognition rate. That is the percentage of test set tuples that are correctly classified. So the equation for that is accuracy is equal to true positive plus true negative divided by all. Right? All is the summation of positive plus negative. Right? Or we can say P dash and the summation of it, right? Complementary we used to say. Okay. What is error rate? 1 minus accuracy is the error rate, or otherwise it is said as the FP plus FN divided by all. Fine. Class imbalance problem. What is the meaning of it? One class may be rare, as for example, for fraud or HIV positive, significant majority of the negative class and minority of the positive class. Okay, so that is called as the class imbalance problem, right? Now, what do we mean by the sensitivity? That is a measure we want to find. Sensitivity is true positive recognition rate, and that is equal to TP upon P. True positive upon total positive, right? Specificity is true negative recognition rate. That means specificity is equal to Tn by N. Okay. Now, precision, recall, amnesia. These are the measures by which we compare the algorithms. Not only the accuracy, sensitivity, specificity, error rate, but some more are there, and they are precision, recall. Typically, people are using accuracy, precision, and recall parameters to compare the algorithms. And yes, F measure too. This typically people are using to compare the classification methods. In research also, when you find the algorithms, when people are giving new algorithms or they are rectifying the algorithms or whatever, they are using these measures to compare the performance. Okay, so what they are? Precision, that is the exactness. What percentage of tuples that the classifier labeled as positive are actually positive? And that is equal to TP upon TP plus FP, right? Recall, that is the completeness. What percentage of positive triples did the classifier label as positive? So that is equal to TP upon TP plus Fn. Perfect score is 1.0, but we engineers never used to say that we are having 100% results or 100% accuracy, isn't it? So perfect score is 1.0. If you are getting 1, that is really very good. But if it is 0.99, then also it is fine, right? Okay. So, but that depends on the comparison. Okay. Whatever methods you are taking, in that, say for one method you are getting say 0.95, and for other you are getting for 0.98. Then you can definitely say that 0.98 method is better, isn't it? So inverse is the relationship between precision and recall. F measure, the next measure, that is harmonic mean of precision and recall. So what is that? When we are having the value of precision and recall, we can find the F measure. That is, we can say that 2 into precision into recall divided by precision plus recall. Right? See, you can be given this table, right? You can be given this table and you need to find what? You need to find precision, recall, F measure, right? So take care of that. Now, if we are having the true positive, true negative, false positive, false negative, it is given to us, then we can definitely find precision, recall. If we can find this too, we can find F also, that is F measure also, isn't it? Next is F beta. That is what? Weighted measure of precision and recall. So assigns beta times as much weight to recall as to precision. So how we can find that? That is F beta is equal to 1 plus beta square into precision plus, into recall divided by beta square into precision plus recall. Okay, so these are the measures of comparing what? Comparing the performance of classification methods, right? Okay, so now here the example is that actual class, predicted class, cancer is equal to yes, cancer is equal to no, total, and what we want, sensitivity, specificity, and accuracy, right? So this is what we want to find. Okay, precision. Precision is what? It is TP upon TP plus FP. So apply that equation. What is TP here? Then what is that? FP. What is FP? FP is false positive, right? This is cancer is no, but still it is detected yes. So it is false positive, right? So what we want to do is true positive upon true positive plus true false positive, right? So what do we say is total of these two is 230, right? True positive plus false positive. The total of that is 230, isn't it? This is cancerous yes. That means it is detected yes. Here this is true positive as really person is having cancer and detected also yes. Cancer is no. Person is not having the cancer but detected yes. So it is false positive, right? Okay. So total is TP plus FP, right? So this is TP 90 by 230 and that is we can say that 39.13, right? Recall, what is that? Recall is TP upon TP plus Fn, right? TP is 90, right? And what is TP plus Fn, right? TP plus Fn is 300. So that's what we are putting here. And that comes out to be 30%. Okay. And for all this also, we know the equation, right? This equation, whatever we are having here, that is for accuracy. Then we can say that precision, recall, specificity. Then we can say sensitivity. All this equation we need to apply. Now at least you know that what is true positive, what is true negative, what is false positive, and what is false negative from this table, right? So from this table, we can find the measures, right? They are the performance measures, okay? So issues affecting model selection, they are accuracy, speed, robustness, scalability, interpretability, isn't it? That's what we already studied. So what we say, significance tests and ROC curves are useful for model selections, right? There are numerous comparisons of classifications methods, and people do a lot of research in that. There is no method which is superior, and many measures are used to compare the methods, right? And the references are there, okay? So that is all about the classification and prediction. Next topic which we want to learn is clustering. Actually, in HAD, we have already learned the clustering, which was that K-means clustering. We have seen the example also while we have learned the pre-processing, isn't it? So that we will learn a bit later, but just now we want to start with the sixth module, and that is the mining, spatial mining. What do we mean by that? Is web mining and other mining. I think you can see the presentation now. Can you? Yes, okay, fine. So let us start with this topic first of all. That is web mining and other data mining in the subject of data mining, isn't it? Okay, so let's start with the sixth module. Okay, what is web mining? Definition, what is that? Web mining is the use of data mining techniques to automatically discover and extract information from web documents and services. There are three general classes of information that can be discovered by web mining, that is web activity from server logs, web browser activity tracking, right? Now, for web mining, what we are having, that is, we can say three categories are there. One is web content mining, second is web structure mining, and third one is web usage mining. Okay, web content mining includes the mining of the content of the web. That is content, that means it can be text, it can be image, it can be audio, it can be video, it can be any structured record. For web mining, what is the second category? Is web structure mining. What do we mean by that? The structure of web, that is, we can say hyperlinks are there, document structure is there. For hyperlinks, we can say that they are of two types. They are the intra-document and inter-document, right? Intra and inter. Yeah, here, this is inter-document, right? So within the document and within the documents. Right? So that's what we are talking of. The third category of web mining is web usage mining. That is what? It depends on the web server logs. See, whenever we are using the web applications, we know that there must be web server where this website is hosted, right? So there we can say that we can be having the web server logs. What do we mean by logs? Which page you have access, then you can say that on a particular page how much time that you can say if you are opening say ckpct.ac.in and you are keeping it open, so should we consider that say for half an hour, for say 1 hour, for 2 hour the website is open, so can we say that it is a usage? No, that is not the usage. See, you may open the page, but you should be interacting with the page. Okay, it is not a static page we are talking of, but you can say that, for example, as you are using the any purchase website like Amazon, Flipkart, or anything like that, what you do is you purchase something, then you say remove something, then again you purchase some other items, like say dress you have selected. After that, you feel no, your budget is less. So what you do is you cancel one item. Then suppose you have added the watch, right? So what you have done on that page for how many time? How many time? That is how many times? Say today I have visited that website say 5 times. Then how much time I was there on it? I'm purchasing, selecting something, removing something, selecting something, removing something, and that way I have used the page for say 1 hour. So that is its particular usage. On that particular page, how many times you remain? Okay. So you can say what's the use of it? See, one simple application I can say you is you can get the advertisements, right? You can see that YouTube is there, right? Where we see the free videos, but there also the advertisements are there. And for some advertisements, we cannot skip, isn't it? So people will be able to see the advertisement. See, people will be forced to see the advertisements, isn't it? We can say that on TV, whatever serials or whatever news we are looking at, in that also in between the advertisements are there, right? So what do we say is the advertisements we can get based on the serials TRP. If the cricket match is there, we can say that at that time, say for 1 second advertisement also, they will charge too much, right? So try to relate the same thing over here, that here also the things are there, that is, sorry, if the page is being visited many times, you can get the advertisement, so people will be able to get the fund, isn't it? So you can say that the usage mining can give you many benefits. So for that, you can say web server logs are there. One more thing is web usage mining. Okay, this person is using serial websites more. Okay, so and in that also, say person is looking at the comedy serials only. So those will be recommended the serials whenever the new serials are there. If it falls under the comedy serials category, those person will be recommended such new serials. Okay, so let us study these things in detail, how it works. What that is web structure mining, web usage mining, right? And web content mining, right? Web content mining is we are considering the content, right? So web structure mining is the use, what it uses the graph theory to analyze the node and connection structure of a website. According to the type of web structural data, web structure mining can be divided into two kinds: extracting patterns from hyperlinks in the web. That is, we can say a hyperlink is a structural component that connects the web page to a different location. And second one is mining the document structure. One is hyperlinks and second one is the document structure. Okay. Analysis of the tree-like structure of page structures to describe HTML or XML tag usage. You can have that, what do we mean by the tag usage? For example, let me tell you. The document structure, in that, say hyperlinks are there, right? What type of hyperlinks are there? Say href, these things are there, right? So now from the hyperlinks, href, whatever is there means, say link to a particular page, then after the sub pages are there in that, so you can get that structure of that hyperlinks, okay, on that particular page. So we can extract the patterns from hyperlinks in the web, right? So how the things are there, isn't it? Mining the document structure, that means the analysis of tree-like structure of the page structures. Page structures of, say, HTML. HTML is having the tree structure, how the tags are being used, how the XML tags are being used, right? So based on that, we are doing the mining, and that is called the web structure mining. Okay. Web structure mining terminology, what it uses? It uses web graph, that is directed graph representing the web node, web page in graph, then age, they are the hyperlinks, in degree, that is the number of links pointing to a particular node, out degree, that is the number of links generated from a particular node. Techniques of web structure mining, they are the page rank. This algorithm is used by the Google to rank search results. We know that when we are searching for a particular word, we are given the search, but there we can say that the ranking is given. Say first 10 pages, then say next 10 pages, next 10 pages, right? That way it is giving us the results, and that is the page rank algorithm of the Google, right? So the rank of a page is decided by the number of links pointing to the target node, right? We are having the web graph. We are having the web graph for the website, and from that we will be able to find the page rank, okay? What are the advantages? Web mining enables e-tailers to leverage their online customer data by understanding and predicting the behavior of their customers. For the first time, e-tailers now have access to detailed marketing intelligence on the visitors to their websites. Okay, this person is looking at the crime related serials and movies, right? Okay, so when new movie comes with the same category, that will be recommended to that person. Okay, if person is purchasing say computer related products, then for that person, the recommendation will be for computer related products, right? Person if finds the sell on say food items, sell on say dress, then those things will be recommended to those persons, right? The business benefits that web mining afford to digital service providers include personalization, collaborative filtering, enhanced customer support, product and service strategy definition, practical marketing, and fraud detection. Hmm, fraud. Okay, the typical pattern. Person is typically calling to only Indian people, and suddenly you find that a person is having calling history, new history, right? New history created, wherein a person is calling to many countries. So, is that person's phone is hacked? That can be suspicious, isn't it? You need to ask that person. If that person's account is detected, that is phone account is hacked, not detected. If phone is hacked and if other person is using it, then what? That person should be notified. Okay. Now what happens for the detection? The detection is done, right? Something is suspicious. Is it really the case that it is suspicious only? See, it may be the case that person has started applying for, say, masters. That is, you can say to many countries that person has applied, like you students after doing your BE, you are applying to masters in foreign countries, so you are applying to many countries, isn't it? So over there you can say that you may have to call the foreign countries. So till now you were not having such history, but now it is there in your account, right? But that should be detected because that is the not normal pattern, isn't it? That is not the normal pattern. It can be considered as the outlier, okay, and which is suddenly detected. So it can be fraud. This is the fraud of, you can say, telephone, but it is not so. We have detected as fraud can be that, but it is not fraud as you are applying for your studies to many countries and you are calling them. Okay, so but at least suspicious is there, isn't it? And that should be verified. If it is verified by the customer that no, everything is fine at my end and I myself am using the foreign calling services, I mean, I'm calling the foreign universities, then it is fine. In short, the ability to understand their customers' needs and deliver the best and most appropriate service to those individual customers is given, say, in is any given moment, as any time it can be given, right? The service. Disadvantages and challenges. The web is too huge. The size of the web is very huge and rapidly increasing. This means that the web is too huge for data warehousing and data mining. Complexity of web pages. The web pages do not have unifying structure. Do they have all same structure? No, it does not have, right? They are very complex as compared to traditional text documents. These are huge amount of documents in digital library of web. These libraries are not arranged according to any particular sorted order. Web is dynamic information source. The information on web is rapidly updated. The data such as news, stock markets, weather, sports, shopping, etc. are regularly updated. Diversity of user communities. The user community on the web is rapidly expanding. These users have different backgrounds, interests, and usage purposes. There are more than 100 million workstations that are connected to the internet and still rapidly increasing, isn't it? Relevancy of information. That is, it is considered that a particular person is generally interested in small portion of the web, while the rest of the portion of the web contains the information that is not relevant to the user and may spam desired result. So what are the applications of it? E-commerce, search engines and web search, website design, recommendation engines. That is, I used to say that based on my interests, based on my usage, that is always based on my interest, isn't it? So based on that, the things will be recommended to you. If I like, say, comedy serials, then I'll be given the recommendation of that. If I purchase, say, dresses of a particular brand, then I'll be recommended a new dress when the new dress for that brand comes to me, right? Something like this is that. So web communities and web marketplaces. These are the applications of what? Our web mining, isn't it? Web structure mining. Web usage mining is the application of data mining techniques to discover usage patterns from the web data. In order to understand and better serve the needs of web-based applications, web usage mining consists of three phases, namely pre-processing, pattern discovery, and pattern analysis. Is it the part of only web usage mining? No, it is always there. When we are talking of the mining, always it is having pre-processing, pattern discovery, and pattern analysis. Fine? So it is the mining of web server logs and application server logs. Data that describes the pattern of usage of web pages such as IP addresses, page references, and the date and time of accesses, right? So that's all for today.